Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you a much requested video. Now today's video is going to be focusing on custom tactics and more specifically player work rates, because I've had message after message and comment after comment saying, what do I do with this, how would I set a team up, how would I tinker with a formation. But before I get into the tutorial, I just want to qualify one thing. I play Ultimate Team a lot. Practically all of the time I spend on FIFA is on Ultimate Team, and as you guys know, in Ultimate Team you can't tinker with a formation. You get several default ones to choose from, and like it or lump it, you've got to stick with that. So this is only really useful in stuff like career mode, seasons, just online friendlies against your friends or whatever. But as you can see here, I've set up a team with Manchester City, just a nice basic team in 4-2-2-2, which if any of you guys are interested is going to be my next formation tutorial. That'll probably come up either tomorrow or the day after, so some more good news on that. But what I wanted to show you is just basically how I set the work rates up. So let's just go and have a look at them. Hit edit. Right, here we go. So as you can see, this is my outfield. I've got, as the back four, Maicon, Kompany, Lescott and Zabaleta. And if Maicon's the right fullback and Zabaleta's the left fullback, and I'm going to explain why I've done that, because as you can see here, I've currently got Maicon highlighted, and I've got his base work rate as high on attacking and defence as medium. And the reason why I've done this is, Maicon is a much more attacking fullback than Pablo Zabaleta, so you want to take advantage of that. You want to give him that high attacking work rate so he can get up and down the pitch, support the attack and get crosses in for Edin Dzeko, who I'll come to later. But at the same time, you don't want him to just be a winger. You don't want him to go flying up the pitch and leave you completely exposed. So what I've done is I've given him medium defensive work rate. So what will happen there is Maicon will get forward on the attack, but when you lose the ball, he'll still have a responsibility and still come and run back. And as you can see with the rest of the defence, what I've tried to do is set it up to compensate that a little bit. So you can see with the two centre-backs, who I've got Kompany and Lescott, and as you can see with the centre-backs here, I've set them up to try and compensate that. So they are on high defensive work rate and low attacking work rate, and this is because you don't want your centre-halves going anywhere near the forward end of the field. You want them to just sit there the entire game and don't move. Their job is to defend, not attack, and that's why you don't give them any attacking work rate at all. You put it as low as you can, which in this case is low. So all they'll do is they'll sit deep, they'll stay in front of your goalkeeper, and they'll just patrol. And then on the other side of the pitch, I've got Pablo Zabaleta, who he isn't as an attacking fullback as Maicon is. So Maicon's a very attacking fullback. Zabaleta not as much. So what I've done to compensate for this is given him medium work rate on both. So he'll still get forward, he'll still support the attack, but at the same time he's not going to be as attacking as Maicon. And the good thing about this is it prevents your back four becoming a back two, because sometimes when you play two very attacking fullbacks, you just see them fly up the wing and they can leave you very exposed with only two centre backs holding. So I find that this gives you a really good balance in your back four. You've got one attacking fullback who still has responsibility, and then on the other side of the pitch you've got a fullback who'll do a little bit of both, and in the middle two centre halves whose job is just to defend and nothing else. So let's move up the pitch slightly to Gareth Barry. Now, I'm playing Gareth Barry on the right of midfield here, and this is because I want him to be the ultra defensive-minded midfielder. As you can see, I've given him high defensive work rate and low attacking work rate, and I've played him on the side of the pitch where Maicon is playing. So if you think about this, Maicon is going to be the most attacking fullback. He's going to get up the pitch more, so he's going to leave space in behind him. But the good thing about having Gareth Barry here is Gareth Barry's more of a defensive minded midfielder than Yaya Toure is. So what I've done in this work rate setup is enable Gareth Barry just to sit in, hold his position, and if Maicon does get up the pitch, Gareth Barry will be there because he's got low attacking work rate. He'll be there to cover. The only time I want Gareth Barry to go up the pitch is when I tell him to. So if I send him on a run or if I give him a through ball, then that's fine, because I'll be managing my team to make sure that we don't just stream forward and leave ourselves exposed. So it's all about beginning to balance your team, and you can see how I've linked it together. But playing next to Gareth Barry, I've got Yaya Toure, and as you guys know, Yaya Toure is the ultimate all-round midfielder. He's so strong, massive guy. He can tackle, he can defend, but at the same time he's good on the ball, he can pass, he's got a reasonable shot, and he can score goals. So what I like to do is leave him balanced, because bearing in mind you've got Gareth Barry alongside him, who is incredibly defensive minded in this setup. So alongside that incredibly defensive holding player, I've given someone with a little bit more freedom, because that gives you a really nice balance in midfield. You've got Barry holding, then you've got Yaya Toure, who I've got on medium work rates of both. He will get up and down the pitch, he'll move around, but I haven't put him on high work rates because I don't want to knacker him out. So what I've decided to do is put him on that medium work rate, so he'll support the attack, but at the same time he'll still have a little bit of defensive discipline. I don't like putting my midfielders on high work rate too often, because I can find even with players like Chore and Ramirez who have very, very high stamina, they can run themselves into the ground, and you find come the 70th, 80th minute, your midfielders are dead. And you've got Gareth Barry who's very, very defensive, but at the same time I don't want Yaya Toure to drive himself into the floor, because in that last 10-15 minutes the high stamina players really come into their own, because they're still firing on all cylinders, and you can take advantage of your opponent whose players are perhaps beginning to tire by that point. So that's why I leave him on the two mediums. Let's move slightly further up the pitch. Let's go to the right attacking mid. Now, as you can see, the right hand side of the pitch is probably going to be my most attacking side, because I've got Maicon, the fullback, who's going to be the most adventurous in my team. So what I've given David Silva here is attacking work rate at high and defensive work rate at medium, because David Silva's one of your key attacking players. You want him to be up the pitch creating chances, but at the same time you've got Maicon, who's a very, very attacking fullback, and he's going to be bombing forward as well. So you do want David Silva to focus on attacking, but at the same time, if Maicon goes barreling up the pitch, you want him to have a little bit of defensive responsibility to drop back in and cover. So that's why I've given him the medium defensive work rate. On the other side of the pitch, just quickly, I've given Samir Nasri a high attacking work rate and low defensive work rate, and that's because he's got Pablo Zabaleta behind him, who's not as attacking as Maicon. So you won't see that many situations where Zabaleta's charged up to the corner flag. He'll be a little bit more responsible, so that gives Samir Nasri more freedom to get forward. And you can begin to see how I balance the team here. All of this player work rates are about balancing your team roles, making sure that you're not too attacking on one side of the pitch and you can get exposed, but at the same time making sure you've got a broad enough threat along a variety of areas to keep yourself interesting. So you're beginning to see it all coming together now. And the good thing is, I've got Gareth Barry and Yaya Toure in midfield. So even if Samir Nasri does go a bit crazy and just basically plays as the third striker, it doesn't matter, because I've got Pablo Zabaleta on that side who's going to be more restrained. I've got Yaya Toure, a high stamina guy who can come back and cover. And then Gareth Barry can move across into the middle and just sit in front of the back four if we need to. So we're nice and solid, but at the same time, that enables me to give Samir Nasri that attacking freedom. So that's the midfield. I'm just going to move on to the strikers. Now, the strikers I've got in this formation are Edin Dzeko and Carlos Tevez, and I would play Sergio Aguero every single time in this team. But I wanted to show you an example, because this video is all about setting up patterns and how you would set your formation up for your team or whatever squad you want to use, really. So Edin Dzeko, as most of you guys know, is a target man. Look at those stats. He's not particularly quick, he's not particularly agile, but he has decent heading accuracy. He's big, he's tall, he can win headers. So what you want him to do is you want him to stay as far up the pitch as possible, because if you're on the counter attack and Edin Dzeko's tracked back and you need that easy ball out, there's no one upfield. So you want him to have low defensive work rate and high attacking work rate. So that means he will stay forward and make a lot of runs up the pitch, but then when you lose the ball, he's not going to come charging back. He'll stay by that centre half or that full back. So when you do win the ball back and you want that long ball up to relieve pressure, Edin Dzeko's there to do that. But equally, alongside Edin Dzeko, I've got Carlos Tevez. And Carlos Tevez is another incredible stamina player. You can see there, 90 stamina. He's quick, he will bustle, he's agile. He's one of those players who runs just as hard in the 90th minute as he does in the first. And because he's a striker, he doesn't really have as much of the pitch to cover. I was talking about Yaya Toure earlier, giving him two medium work rates, because as a midfielder, you're expected to get up the pitch and get back, be defending and attacking. So when you do have to work up and down the pitch, even with high stamina, it can tire you out. Carlos Tevez is going to cover a lot less ground than Yaya Toure, because as a striker, when your team has the ball, you don't really run around too much. You'll be making runs into space and you'll be trying to find ways through, but in terms of distance covered, you're not going to be sprinting marathons. With a midfielder who likes to work, he will be running a lot of distance. So that's why I like to par the work rate down for Toure, but max it out for Tevez, because strikers can handle that high work rate if they need to. So just going to show you the setup as it is there. That's how I've set this team up. It gives you a nice balance between attack and defense, and all of the players together are not thought of in isolation. When I think of the work rate I give to Yaya Toure, I'm thinking of how we'll interact with Barry alongside him and Nasri on the pitch. And when I gave the work rate to Silva, I'm thinking, right, Maicon's going to be bombing past. Occasionally, Silva's going to have to drop in, so I'll give him medium defensive work rate. Because players like David Silva, they aren't going to be a flying winger who runs beyond players. He's going to check inside, come into midfield, spray the passes, and that'll leave space for Maicon to bomb alongside him. So you begin to see how all of these things link together to provide a nice balanced formation. So, guys, I'm going to end the video here. All this was just a quick overview and an example of what you need to be looking at when you're setting up these work rates, because you see some people, they just go out, bung them on, doesn't really put any thought into it. But if you can just sit down and think how you want to play and how all the players will interact with each other, you can make these work rates pretty useful. But bearing in mind, you can't use this on Ultimate Team. It's a thing really for career mode and seasons, but if you do it right and you find a pattern that works for you, it can be very, very effective. So guys, really hope you've enjoyed the video. Plenty more great FIFA tutorials coming up, so I hope you're looking forward to them. Once again, thanks for watching.